Hey there, friend. Tonight, you're not just listening to a story. You're stepping into one. A time when comfort meant not dying in your sleep, and luxury was having your own straw to sleep on. This isn't about kings or knights or romantic castles glowing in candlelight. No, this is about you. Waking up, sore, itchy, hungry, and confused in the year 1325. Your bed is a scratchy pile of hay. Your blanket smells like damp goat. Your roof leaks, your knees crack, and your neighbors, well, they're close. Very close. Too close. You're not a lord. You're not even a merchant. You're a medieval peasant, which means your day is already a disaster, and you haven't even made it to the bucket out back. So go ahead, dim the lights, get under something soft. Maybe sip some water that doesn't contain Parasite's luxury. If you like this video, comment number 1. If you don't like this video, hit the like button anyway. It confuses the algorithm in all the right ways. And let me know in the comments, where are you listening from tonight? What time is it for you? Are you in bed alone, or is someone snoring gently nearby? It's always a pleasure to know who's drifting off with me. I'm Silas Whitmore. I'll be your guide tonight through the stink sweat and social anxiety of medieval daily life. So close, your eyes slow your breath, and let's walk together into a world of open sewers, endless labor, and surprisingly crunchy bread. This isn't the Middle Ages you were promised. It's the one you wouldn't survive a single day in. But tonight you won't have to. You'll just listen. You wake. Not quickly, not all at once. Your eyes peel open like old parchment left in the sun. The air hits your face cold, damp, and carrying the smell of damp straw and something. Meat adjacent. Your neck is bent at an angle. No neck should ever bend. Your back is soaked in sweat and pressed into a mattress that, to be fair, is only a mattress in the sense that someone once slept on it and declared it good enough. You're lying in a pile of straw that smells faintly of goat and strongly of mildew. Your blanket is a coarse wool sheet, heavy with last winter's sweat and lumpy from something you hope is just dead grass. A chicken clucks from somewhere very nearby. You hope it's outside. It isn't. There's no bed frame, no pillow, no top sheet, just straw skin, sweat, and sorrow. You're sharing the space with your entire family. 6 bodies, 1 room, 1 sleep cycle, no boundaries. Someone's elbow is jammed into your ribs. Someone else is snoring directly into your ear. You roll to escape it and land face first into your uncle's foot. The hut is 1 room. No windows. No privacy. Just a low roof, timber walls that creak when the wind sighs, and a dirt floor that hasn't seen sunlight in decades. The air inside is warm from breath and livestock and dreams that didn't survive the night. You think about sitting up, but your body protests. Every joint complains like a rusted hinge. Your spine pops like someone stepping on twigs. You're 22 years old, which here is what passes for middle-aged. Your knees sound like gravel when you move. Your back is already asking to go back to bed. You haven't even stood up yet. The morning bell clangs from the church tower, loud, distant, and uncaring. It doesn't chime. It scolds. Time to get up. Time to be productive. Time to shovel mud or dig holes or carry wood or do whatever awful labor your Lord thinks justifies your continued access to air. Your stomach growls. Not because you're ready to eat, but because you never really stop being hungry. You slept through the hunger only to wake up to it louder. A daily reminder that you're 1 stale crust away from being too weak to stand. You glance across the hut. Your mother is already awake, chewing on something hard enough to chip a tooth. Your youngest sibling is crying because they're cold and wet and probably hungry too. The baby wrapped in someone's tunic smells suspiciously like the source of that wet straw you rolled onto earlier. It's a new day in the 14th century. The sun is rising somewhere beyond the haze. You won't see it. The smoke from your hearth doesn't rise. It clings. Your lungs are full of it already. You breathe through it, through the chill and the grime and the quiet, aching truth of it all. This isn't a bad morning. This is a normal one. Nature calls. Not politely. Not gently. More like a medieval war horn inside your abdomen, echoing off your ribs. And here's the thing, there's no bathroom. Not really. You won't find a porcelain throne. No seat warmers. No privacy. No dignity. If you live in the countryside, your toilet is a wooden bucket behind the hut. That's if you're lucky. Most mornings, it's already full because your uncle had some deeply unfortunate turnips the night before. You hold your breath squat and try not to make eye contact with the goat watching you judgmentally from the side. If you live in town, things get more interactive. See, people don't flush. They dump. Into the street. Out the window. Whatever's handy. There's a traditional warning cry you're supposed to yell before launching human waste into public space, Gardilou, from the French Gare LO, or watch out for the water. No one moves fast enough. Ever. The result, streets that glisten with mystery fluids. Piles of muck you hope are just mud. Smells that crawl up your nostrils and take root in your memories. You don't walk the streets. You dodge them. Strategically. Sideways. On tiptoe. Some cities do have public latrines, long wooden benches with holes side by side. No walls. No stalls. No shame. You do your business while a stranger next to you comments on the weather or coughs directly into your personal airspace. Toilet paper, not a thing. You wipe with straw. Or leaves. Or if you're lucky, a scrap of cloth that's been passed down through the family like a sacred heirloom. And yes, people do reuse it. Wash it in a river. Dry it in the sun. Fold it neatly. Store it for later. Try not to think about it. Now, if you're wealthy and living in a castle, surely it's better. Yes, in the same way that getting poked with a sharp stick is better than falling into a well. Castles have garderobes, stone seats, built into the outer walls. Your waste falls into a chute, often straight into the moat. Which sounds efficient until you realize attackers have climbed into castles using that very same chute. So while you're relieving yourself, there's a non-zero chance someone's climbing up from the other end. Surprise hygiene is subjective. Most people wash their hands, if at all, with cold water and ashes. No soap. No hand sanitizer. Shaking hands isn't a greeting yet, and you're grateful for that. You remember yesterday, the boy who helped sweep the church steps. He got splashed when a bucket came down too fast from a second-story window. It caught him full in the face. He didn't cry. He just blinked, wiped his cheek, and kept sweeping. You saw him again this morning. He wasn't smiling, but he was still sweeping. Your stomach growls again. You ignore it, or try to. It's not just hunger. It's a full-body ache that lives somewhere between your ribs and your soul. But food is coming. Maybe. You shuffle toward the fire pit, if you can call a circle of rocks and smoldering ash a fire pit. Someone's already added a scoop of today's breakfast to a wooden bowl. It looks familiar, which makes sense, because it's the same thing you had yesterday, and the day before, and probably last Tuesday too. Pottage. Sounds fancy. It isn't. Is. Pottage is medieval sludge. A slow simmered mystery stew made of anything that was too old to eat yesterday, but not moldy enough to throw away. Barley, cabbage, peas, onions, turnips, lentils, if you're lucky. If you're not, it's just boiled water flavored with desperation and a single carrot stub. The pot never gets fully emptied. You just keep adding to it. New stuff on top, old stuff on the bottom. Layers of food history lovingly rotting into each other. A stew with memory. The family heirloom nobody asked for. You take a bite. It's warm. That's the nicest thing you can say. The texture is what you'd expect if oatmeal gave up. The flavor is beige, not a color. A mood. Beside the bowl sits a chunk of bread. It's less a loaf and more a weapon. Dense, dry, hard as repentance. Made from coarse rye or barley flour, sometimes mixed with sawdust or mashed acorns to stretch the ingredients. Wheat is a fantasy for the rich. Your bread comes with splinters. You don't slice it. You negotiate with it. You soak it in pottage until it's soft enough to gnaw like an old boot dipped in tea. You glance around. No one's complaining. Not because they like it. Because this is as good as it gets. And because last time someone said something, they didn't get any at all. Hunger breeds gratitude. Or at least silence. You reach for something to drink. There's no coffee. No milk. Definitely no orange juice. What you get is small beer. Weak ale. Low alcohol, high survival rate. Everyone drinks it. Yes, even children. It's safer than water and more filling than air. You sip. It's warm and a little sour. Not refreshing. Just wet. But it won't kill you. And that's what passes for success around here. You finish your meal, if you can call it that. Your stomach is quieter, but not happy. You're not full. You're just not empty. A rat scurries across the hearth casually. No one reacts. It's just part of the ambiance, like a medieval breakfast bell. Outside, the day begins. You're already tired. Time to get dressed, not because you're going anywhere special, just because you can't face the day wearing nothing but regret and body odor. So you reach for your clothes, or rather your cloth, singular, because you only have one outfit. One. And you've worn it every day for the past 7 months. It's a wool tunic. Rough, scratchy beige. Not the color, but the emotion. It smells like wet barn and old feet. You shake it out, which doesn't do much except release a cloud of dust lint and one deeply offended flea who glares at you before hopping away. You slide it over your head, wincing as it drags across your skin. There's a spot on your side where the fabric has rubbed so much it now qualifies as a medieval exfoliation technique. There's no underwear. Just air. Cold, judgmental air. If you're lucky, you might own a linen under tunic. You're not lucky. The wool itches. Not in a slightly uncomfortable way. In a maybe I'll climb out of my skin and start over kind of way. Your armpits feel like they're being punished. Your thighs are in open revolt. You try not to think about the rash forming somewhere south of your dignity. Your pants, assuming you have them, are made of more wool. Thicker, coarser, and somehow even itchier. The waistband is tied with a bit of string that used to be part of your mother's curtain. Or maybe it was your leash when you were a toddler. At this point, who knows? Your shoes are a memory. If they exist, they're leather stiff, cracked with soles so thin you can feel every pebble twig and philosophical crisis beneath your feet. More often, you go barefoot. Through mud, dung, sharp rocks, frozen ground. Your calluses have calluses. You look across the hut and see your father lacing up his own shoes, if you can call them that. They're more patched than leather, with bits of bark stuffed inside to keep the cold out. His trousers are held together with thorns. Actual thorns. He's stitching a rip using a curved needle and something that looks suspiciously like horsehair. You want to say something. But what is there to say nice pants? Cool bark, insert you finished dressing. Which really means you've layered as much discomfort as possible onto your body and are now ready to suffer through another day. Every movement is friction. Every breath is chafing. There's no mirror, but you know what you look like. Gray, tired, mildly inflamed. A walking collection of rough textures and low expectations. Somewhere in the corner, another flea hops off your sleeve, probably going to tell its friends. Outside, the frost hasn't melted yet. Neither has your resolve. But hey, at least you're wearing pants. For now. You think about smiling. You really shouldn't. Not because life is grim, though it is, but because your mouth is a medieval crime scene and opening it too wide might cause someone to faint. Or file a formal complaint with the church. There's no toothbrush, no toothpaste, no floss, no mouthwash, no understanding of bacteria, plaque, or gum health. Oral hygiene in the 14th century is an abstract concept like personal space or fair wages. If you're lucky, you chew on a twig. Not because it's minty fresh, it isn't, but because it's better than nothing. The bristles help scrape off some of yesterday's bread crust or this morning's pottage film. Sort of. Some folks rinse with vinegar or wine, which mostly just stings and leaves you smelling like a salad. But mostly, your teeth are on their own, and they're not doing well. By your mid-20s, your smile resembles a haunted picket fence. Yellowed, cracked, misaligned. Gums swollen and retreating like they're trying to abandon ship. Cavities are common. Infections are constant. Toothaches are just part of the weather. You've probably had one for days now. It throbs in the background of your skull, pulsing in time with your heartbeat and your regret. You poke at it with your tongue because you're human and make bad decisions. There's only one real solution: extraction, which is a generous word for yanking it out with whatever's available. You might go to the barber. Yes, the same guy who cuts hair and drains blood. He'll grip your tooth with iron tongs, brace his foot on your chest, and pull. No anesthesia, no sterilization. Just grit muscle and screaming. Infections can spread. A bad tooth can kill you. And it often does. Sepsis doesn't care about social status. Rotten molars have ended more lives than sword fights. There's an old widow in the village, Agnes. She lost all her teeth last winter. Now people call her Whistlejaw because the wind makes music when she speaks. She laughs when they say it, though you're not sure if it's amusement or the cold whistling through her gums. Kissing rare. Romantic, not really. Breath is more weapon than invitation. And even if someone did lean in close, the risk of clanking teeth or biting a sore is high, so you keep your mouth shut. Not just for politeness, for survival. You grimace in silence, one hand gently cupping your jaw. Another day, another battle inside your face. You're not smiling. You're enduring. Time to work. You don't get to ease into it. There's no warm-up, no coffee, no let me just check my email real quick. You go from groggy and itchy to hauling firewood and mud in 5 minutes flat. Because if you don't, someone notices. And noticing in the 14th century is dangerous. You're not working for money. Let's be clear. You don't get paid. You work because you're allowed to live on the land. You grow crops on a tiny strip of soil you don't own in exchange for laboring, like an ox on the land your lord does own. It's called serfdom. Sounds official. It's really just poverty with paperwork. There's no weekend. No holiday. Sunday off means going to church and pretending your knees don't hurt while standing through a sermon about how suffering is holy and God definitely wants you to pay more tithes. The tasks vary by season, but the exhaustion is constant. In spring, you dig. In summer, you harvest. In autumn, you gather and beg winter to be kind. In winter, you survive. You carry buckets of water that slosh and freeze your legs. You chop wood with a dull axe that belonged to your grandfather. You till soil so hard it could qualify as early stonework. Your hands blister, crack, and bleed. You stop noticing after the first few weeks. Sometimes you help build a road, not because you want better infrastructure, but because the local baron wants to visit his mistress more quickly. Sometimes you repair a bridge you've never crossed, or reinforce a wall that's meant to keep you in, not keep anyone out. You pass a girl in the field barefoot, 10 years old, hunched over a sack of kindling. She's not crying, just walking slower every day. Yesterday she stumbled and didn't get up for a while. No one stopped. There was work to do. Your own back hurts so much it feels like it's humming. Your hands are covered in dirt, your nails broken, your shoulders permanently tensed like they're waiting for lightning. Lunch comes late. Sometimes not at all. If there's a break, it's just enough time to chew on something hard and wonder what bones you've bruised today that you won't feel until tomorrow. You don't complain, because complaints don't grow wheat, and they don't stop the sun from burning your neck. You wipe your forehead with a sleeve already soaked in sweat. You breathe in dust and the metallic tang of exertion. This isn't labor. This is life. The weather is not your friend. It doesn't care if you're tired, or hungry, or poor. It doesn't even care if you've been a good person. The weather in the 14th century is just another mouth you forgot to feed, and now it's angry. Let's start with winter. Your home has no insulation. The wind gets in through the walls, through the thatch, through the gaps in the floorboards. There is no fireplace, just a central hearth that smokes more than it warms. You huddle near it at night, not for comfort, but for survival. Blankets thin, clothes damp, body heat shared with family and occasionally livestock. You sleep in a pile like puppies in a barn, hoping your nose is still attached in the morning. Frostbite is common. Fingers go white, then purple, then gone. Your neighbor Martin lost 2 toes last year. Slept too close to the wall. Didn't wake up until he couldn't feel his foot. Now he walks with a limp and a new appreciation for thermal socks, which of course don't exist. The cold gets into your bones. It becomes a kind of second skeleton, aching, creaking, always there. It wraps around your lungs and makes every breath feel like chewing glass. Coughs echo through the village all night. You count them like sheep. And then there's summer. The kind of summer that laughs at shade. The sun beats down like it has a personal vendetta. You sweat through your wool clothes because, yes, you're still wearing wool and it doesn't help. There is no relief, no breeze, just the smell of hot animals, hot people, and whatever's dying in the compost heap. Dehydration sets in fast. You drink ale because the water's not safe. You work in the sun because your Lord doesn't believe in heat stroke. You blister, burn, peel. Your skin cracks. Your lips bleed. You press your forehead against a cool stone wall and almost cry. Almost. But you don't, because there's work to do. In spring, the rains come. Soft at first, then furious. The ground turns to soup. Roads vanish. Homes flood. You try to keep the fire going, but everything is damp. Even your hope. Autumn isn't better. Cold mornings, wet afternoons, early nights. The mud never leaves your boots. You shiver in a fog so thick it swallows sound. You start to understand why people believed in demons. Because clearly something out there hates you. And it's probably the weather. You're thirsty, which is a problem. Because there's water, and then there's safe to drink water. In the 14th century, those are not the same thing. Not even close. The stream behind your village looks clean, sparkling, cool, inviting. You crouch down to fill a cup but pause. Because someone's cow died upstream last week. Or was it a pig? Either way, it bloated burst, and the villagers downriver still talk about the smell. You've learned to hesitate. Wells are better. Supposedly, until someone throws waste into them, or falls in, or uses it to dump animal parts after a bad butchering. Every bucket is a gamble. Will this cup keep you alive, or send you to the church graveyard with dysentery carved on your imagination? There's no filtration, no boiling, no chlorine, no Brita. If the water's clear, you drink it, and hope your intestines don't explode in protest. That's why you drink beer. Small beer. Weak, flat room temperature ale with just enough alcohol to kill the worst of the bacteria and just enough calories to count as breakfast. It's not refreshing. It's not enjoyable. But it probably won't kill you. Everyone drinks it. Yes, even children. Even babies. It's brewed in the home, kept in barrels, and served in wooden cups that haven't been properly cleaned since ever. Sometimes you get wine if you're rich. You're not. So beer it is. All day. Every day. Until you dream of clear cold water and wake up gagging on your own spit. Bathing rare. Very rare. Public bathhouses existed once, but the church shut many down for being too sinful translation. People liked them too much. Private baths are for nobles. You get a bucket. Or a rag. Or more likely nothing. You scrub yourself with a damp cloth if there's time. Maybe rinse your hands in a basin full of yesterday's gray water. You smell like everyone else, sweat, smoke, stale grain, and resignation. You remember old Gerard. Lived near the well. Drank from it every morning. Said it kept him regular. One day, he stopped showing up at the fields. They found him curled in his hut, eyes open, mouth dry. No wounds. No blood. Just bad water. You don't drink from that well anymore. You just try not to drink much at all. You don't feel well. That's not unusual. No one really feels well in the 14th century. Well is for nobles, monks, and people who die young before their joints start to rot. But today, something is off. Your head aches. Your stomach churns. There's a buzzing in your ears that feels like bees made of fever. You feel heavy, like you've been filled with wet stones. You lie on your straw mattress, staring at the soot-darkened ceiling. Your mouth is dry, your limbs cold. And worst of all, you know there's nothing anyone can really do. There is no medicine. Not the kind you're thinking of. No pills. No antibiotics. No sterile gauze. There are treatments, yes, but they're a mix of ritual guesses and deeply questionable fluids. First, someone suggests bloodletting. Because obviously, if you're weak, the answer is to remove more of the stuff that keeps you alive. The local barber, who also cuts hair, pulls teeth, and sometimes lances boils, shows up with a blade he's used on sheep chickens, and probably himself. He ties a cord around your arm, slices open a vein, and collects your life in a ceramic bowl. If you faint, that means it's working. Next comes the poultice. Mashed herbs and garlic, maybe onion, maybe moss, maybe old bread soaked in vinegar and holy water. They slap it onto your chest like it owes you money. It burns a little. You're told that's good. If it draws out bad humors, even better. If it draws flies, also good. They're not sure. Your mother goes to fetch the wise woman from the edge of the woods. She arrives with a pouch of dried nettles, some crushed beetle shells, and a firm belief that Saint Dymphna can cure madness and fever if prayed to exactly 13 times while walking counterclockwise around a dying goose. You try not to move. Your priest stops by. He doesn't bring comfort. He brings guilt. Says your illness might be the result of sin, impure thoughts, or secretly skipping Lent. You try to confess, but he's already suggesting fasting and flagellation. Someone offers leeches. Someone else offers prayer. Someone else offers to bury you just in case. You remember Thomas, the boy who lived 2 doors down, 10 years old, had a cough one day, a fever the next. They bled him, applied burning herbs to his chest, tied garlic to his ankles. He stopped speaking by day 4. By day 5, he stopped breathing. They said it was God's will. They wrapped him in linen and laid him in the dirt, gave him a wooden spinning top to take to the afterlife. His little sister hasn't spoken since either. You breathe shallowly. Your head spins. You feel the weight of your own blood trying to leave you. The walls spin slightly. Someone offers boiled willow bark for the pain. It tastes like tree and disappointment. There is no real cure, no recovery plan. You either get better on your own or you don't. And if you don't, no one will really be surprised. Dinner is theoretical. You're not sure what's in the pot tonight. Maybe a few root vegetables. Maybe a slice of turnip pretending to be meat. Maybe a broth made from bones so old they remember a better time. You gather around the hearth bowl in hand, trying not to hope too hard. Hope makes food taste worse. You lower your expectations to warm and wet and wait your turn. There's no second helping. Sometimes there's not even a first. But let's talk about food and law. Because in the 14th century, being hungry isn't just uncomfortable, it's criminally inconvenient. You know what happens if you steal a loaf of bread, public flogging. Stocks. Or if the mood is especially sour, execution. Last month, a woman from the next village stole a single roll from the bakery. Her son hadn't eaten in 2 days. She was caught, dragged to the square, and whipped until her back looked like parchment left in the rain. The crowd watched in silence, except the baker. He said she made an example. Meanwhile, the Lord's men take gifts from farms whenever they feel like it. Chickens, cheese, barrels of grain. It's not stealing when it's done with a crest and a sword. That's called taxes, or protection, or just how things are. You've watched your neighbor's last goat get confiscated because someone important needed stew. No one spoke up. They just nodded, bowed, and pretended not to hear the sound of hooves disappearing into the woods. Dinner tonight is a watery stew made from onion skins and something vaguely cabbage adjacent. You choose slowly, not to savor, but to make it last. Every mouthful feels like rationing out your dignity. You remember old Ellis, who shot a rabbit on the edge of the Lord's hunting grounds. Not for sport, just to feed his granddaughter. They found him, took the rabbit, took the bow, took 3 of his fingers too. He doesn't hunt anymore. He barely gestures. Laws don't protect you. They fence you in. Keep you hungry. Keep you scared. Keep you obedient. You can't read them because you can't read, but you've learned them the hard way. 1 bruise at a time. Meanwhile, up in the manor, the Lord eats roasted pork, crackling skin, warm bread, mulled wine. He wipes his mouth with linen, not his sleeve. He laughs with other men in rings of gold and belts worth more than your whole family. He dines by candlelight. You eat in the dark. Someone has died. You hear it in the silence, in the way the wind shifts through the village, in the hushed voices the eyes that don't meet yours. The cough you heard 3 nights ago is gone. You didn't know her well. Just an old woman who lived near the baker. She used to hum while pulling weeds. She had a crooked back and a scarf that never left her neck, even in summer. Her name might have been Els or Edith or something soft. She died in the night. There's no doctor to confirm it. No coroner. Just a daughter who tried to wake her and found stillness instead. The neighbors gathered. The priest came. No one cried loudly. There's not much to cry with. They wrap her in linen. Nothing fancy. Just clean cloth if they have it. If not, whatever hasn't been chewed by mice. She's laid on a wooden plank, by the hearth, eyes closed, with coins that aren't real coins, just buttons polished smooth and warm from hands. Someone begins a song. It's not a hymn. Not officially. Just something old. A tune that sounds like smoke. A lullaby turned funeral dirge. You don't know the words. No one does anymore. They change with the breath, with the weather, with the weight in people's chests. The grave is shallow, dug with dull tools and hard dirt. The ground doesn't welcome her. It yields only out of habit. There's no coffin, just cloth, soil, and time. A child places a single dried flower on her chest. A boy holds her scarf for a moment, then ties it around his wrist. No one tells him not to. The priest mutters Latin. Most people stare at their feet. You wonder if she was lonely. If she felt the chill coming. If she knew her breath would run out like thread at the end of a spool. Someone says she once had a husband. A son. They died long ago. People nod, but they don't say much. Grief here is quiet. Thin, like wind through thatch. You walk home in silence. That night you hear the song again. Someone is humming it by the fire. Maybe her daughter. Maybe no one at all. And in that moment, you realize this is what remembering looks like. Not monuments. Not stone. Just breath and melody. A borrowed tune passed down like a wool scarf, frayed, faded, but still warm. And tomorrow, no one will speak her name. But someone might still hum. You wake. Not quickly. Not all at once. The cold is there, first pressing against your skin, clinging to your ribs. Your blanket is damp. Your feet are numb. Your breath fogs in the morning dark. You don't remember falling asleep, just closing your eyes because there was nothing left to see. And now, here you are again, in the same place, on the same straw, beneath the same leaking roof. You sit up slowly. Your joints argue with you. Your spine cracks like old kindling. You try to stretch, but the ache pulls tighter. Something in your shoulder feels wrong. It'll feel worse by nightfall. There is no reason to rush, but there's also no reason to stay still. Your day begins not because you're ready, but because no one waits for your readiness. The sun will rise whether you move or not. And if you don't move, there might not be food tonight. You glance across the hut. Your sister is already up wrapping cloth around her feet. Your mother is stirring something gray in a pot. You don't ask what it is. You don't want to know. The rooster crows. Not out of joy, just habit. You step outside. The mud greets you like an old enemy. Cold, thick, unforgiving. You push your boots through it, or your bare feet, depending on the season or the state of your boots. The sky is gray. Of course it is. You've forgotten what blue looks like. The air smells like smoke, sweat, and yesterday. You remember your dream. Brief, strange, gentle. A river clean and wide. Warm sunlight. Someone laughing. You were barefoot, but it didn't hurt. No hunger. No fear. No ache. And then you woke up. The fire has gone out. Again. You kneel to coax it back. Your fingers are stiff. The wood is damp. It catches slowly, reluctantly, like everything else. There's no breakfast. Just something to fill the space in your gut. A scoop of pottage. A heel of bread. A sip of beer that tastes like watered-down effort. You don't cry. Crying takes energy, and no one has energy to spare. You pick up the same tools as yesterday. You walk the same path. You brace yourself for the same work, the same orders, the same silence. You don't ask why anymore. You ask how long. You see the church in the distance, and beyond it, the Lord's manor, tall, clean, glowing in the morning mist. You wonder what he's having for breakfast. Then stop yourself, because it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're awake, and it has begun again. And so another day passes, not in triumph, not in glory, but in the quiet endurance that defined medieval life. You woke. You worked. You ate what little there was. You listened for coughs, for whispers, for news of death. You looked at the sky and hoped for mercy. You didn't expect it, but you hoped. And that was enough. This wasn't a life of ambition or adventure. It was a life made of mud and firelight, of aching hands and empty bowls of songs, sung not because they were beautiful, but because silence was worse. And still people laughed, quietly. They loved awkwardly. They prayed desperately. They buried their dead with trembling hands, and then went back to the fields because the barley would not wait. The miracle wasn't surviving something great. It was surviving something small every day, again and again. So as you lie in your own bed with its mattress and warmth and silence, not filled with lice or prayers for the plague to pass, take a breath. A real one. A deep one. The kind no medieval peasant could afford to waste. And if you feel grateful, good. That's the right kind of magic. Good night.